What's been the reaction to that incredibly dramatic 2 days of play and England's shambolic effort on the last day?
There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of anger, certainly from the fans who are out there that I've had feedback from. What happens in Brisbane is going to define the whole Bazball project, really.
There's a 2-day practice game involving the British Lions in Canberra. Pink ball, if you don't mind. Joe Root, Zach Crawley, who did nothing in that test. I mean, surely they should have gone to that game.
I don't see how you can play Khawaja, to be honest, Crash. He's not been able to take his position at the top of the order. That's an embarrassment, really, for him and for Australia, which has been masked by the brilliance of Travis Head.
Well, welcome everybody to Code Sports Cricket Chat, and a chat I've been looking forward to for since the last ball was bowled in the first test in Perth. My old friend Paul Newman, formerly of the Daily Mail, now with The Athletic, he's sitting in England right in the middle of the maelstrom. And Paul, welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Crash. It's really nice to be here. I still haven't recovered from what happened in Perth, to be honest. It's still a bit shell-shocked, as Ben Stokes might say.
Well, let's talk about that, Paul. Let's go down to your local coffee shop, your local bar. Like, what's been the reaction to that incredibly dramatic 2 days of play and England's shambolic effort on the last day?
I think people are shocked, to be honest, Crash. I think they're a bit befuddled by it all, really. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of anger, certainly from the fans who are out there that I've had feedback from. The fans who are still in Australia, just wondering what on earth went on. The people over here can't quite believe it. I just think it was more the fact that England were in a winning position, weren't they? They got themselves into such a good position. They bowled so well in the first innings. I think we went to Australia this time thinking that England had a real chance. And it's not as if the thinking before is that they just weren't good enough. That the Aussie team were just too good in Aussie conditions for the last three England sides, and they've been absolutely blown away. This time, we feel they should be competing on equal terms, and they were for 4 short, sweet sessions, and then it all went horribly wrong. And I think it's just an enormous sense of a wasted opportunity, because they really should have got on from that position at lunch on the second day to win that game. And we've seen it before, haven't we, with this England side? We saw it at Edgbaston and Lords in the last Ashes over here, where they just cannot take advantage of being in good positions. They just seem to throw it away, and that's taking nothing away from Mitch Starc and Travis Head, who were absolutely world-class in taking the game away from England, firstly with ball and then with bat. But I just think people think they're just frustrated, really. They're frustrated and angry that this England team couldn't get over the line, and they'll never have a better position to go one up in Australia.
Paul, I guess it's placed the whole Bazball resume under scrutiny, hasn't it? Some losses are worse than others, but I'm sensing it in amongst British fans in Australia. You've just basically intimated there that this whole philosophy, this whole sort of gung-ho, we're not result orientated, and we've got this creed and we'll stick to it. But would you agree that now more than ever it is absolutely under the blowtorch?
Absolutely. I wrote at the weekend, it's at a crossroads now, Crash. I mean, look, I have to say, I'm a big fan of what Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum have done with the England team. It's been an extraordinary 3 years in so many ways. You have to remember they came in at such a low in English cricket. We've had many lows, of course, over the years. You know that, my friend, as well as anybody. But they came in on the back of 1 win in 17 under Joe Root. It was really turgid stuff. That's Joe, fantastic cricketer, but he wasn't a good captain, and he certainly wasn't a good captain towards the end. You remember the last Ashes, the COVID Ashes. England were absolutely outclassed. And they had no spark about them. These guys changed everything, and suddenly they were playing thrilling cricket. Yes, they initially said that it wasn't about results, it was about entertainment. That quickly changed, to be honest, and they do know it is all about results, and they've pulled off some fantastic results, but they've also thrown away a lot of winning positions. And I think it is a crossroads now. It is that people are questioning it. There is a lot of anger, both here and over there, as we've just said, particularly the people who've gone over there. And really, they need to pull it out of the bag. What happens in Brisbane is going to define the whole Bazball project, really, because If they go 2 down, obviously that's it. There's no way coming back from that. It's a pink ball test. Australia are the masters of pink ball tests. Mitchell Starc in particular is master of the pink ball test with the ball. And really, it's all or nothing now. If they go 2-0 down, this project will be remembered probably as a failure. This series was always going to define what Stokes and McCullum have done, and really they're now playing for their lives really when they had such a great chance to go one up. You know, you just felt that suddenly things were changing a little bit, weren't they? Suddenly attention was on Usman Khawaja for playing golf before the first test, not the England players. You know, suddenly all of a sudden England were possibly changing the tide, and now they're very much under scrutiny, and yeah, the whole success or otherwise of what they've been doing on the last 3 years probably depends on what happens at the Gabba.
What about the road forward? Now, England have made a very interesting decision. There's a 2-day practice game involving the British Lions in Canberra. Pink ball, if you don't mind. Very few of the players are pink ball experts in England. A lot haven't even played it, but they've snubbed it. A guy like Joe Root, Zach Crawley, who did nothing in that test. I mean, surely they should have gone to that game. Mike Atherton disagrees with that. He says no, they'd be better in Brisbane practicing with the high bounce. What's your verdict?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, isn't it? I think it's one of those where once you go one down, everything you do is suddenly under attack, isn't it? Before, England were praised for sort of sticking together and for doing things their way. Now it's very much, you know, what on earth are they doing? I can, at the risk of sounding a bit vanilla, I can see both sides of this one actually. My instinct is yes, certainly the batsman should be going to Canberra and getting some experience and match practice with that pink ball. And I really think it's strange that they haven't decided to do so. I can understand the bowlers going straight to Brisbane, getting in those Gabba nets, which of course, as you know better than anybody, can be quite spicy. Getting used to the humidity and the conditions in Brisbane and having a good workout there. I don't see particularly why they need to go to Canberra, but the batsmen certainly, I can understand them needing some time in the middle with that pink ball, and they'd be better served doing that. Get some runs under their belt. You know, it must be getting confident with some runs. But you know what? I do admire McCullum for wanting to do things his way. He doesn't worry about the optics. He doesn't worry about what people think. Stokes and McCullum think this is the way we're doing it, and we're not going to worry about public reaction if we believe we're doing the right thing. He wants to keep them all together, and I can understand that. And you know, it's interesting to read these comments by Stuart Law, obviously a Queenslander, who said, you know, there's little point in playing in Canberra because conditions are so different. The ball's going to be around their ankles when it's going to be, you know, up around their chest and above their head in Brisbane. What's the point? So I can see that point of view. I actually don't think it's as big a deal as a lot of people are making out. But because they lost, and because they lost so badly, it's going to be scrutinised thoroughly. But if you were asking me what my opinion is, I would have thought those batsmen could have done with a hit. They could have done with some runs in the middle, because any batsman's confidence has got to be improved by runs. And if you're someone like Zach Crawley, you know that the scrutiny is so much on you at the start of this trip. You know that your record is not good enough, really. You come in here and you've been backed to the hilt against all the evidence to the contrary by England. You've got a pair in the first test. You're going to face Mitchell Starc with a pink ball in his hand in Brisbane. I would have thought even if he'd just got 50 under lights in Canberra, it would have done him so good. So I can see why that so many people have questioned that, really.
You know, isn't it funny? You and I, we've came through together, and we've shared so many stories on Australian tours. And yet, in our lifetime, there has been no close Ashes series in Australia. England won two, and they won them quite convincingly. And Australia just slaughtered the rest of them. And I just, mate, before we go to heaven, hell, or purgatory, I want to see a close Ashes series in Australia, Newers.
It's amazing, isn't it? I just can't understand why, really, Crash. This time I thought it was going to be, and maybe it still will be. This was the one that I really thought would be close. I said England 3-2, and that was possibly more in hope than expectation. I've been there when they've been absolutely thrashed, of course, as you know. I was also there in 10-11 when it was the other way round, and England won 3 by an innings, which still remains the highlight of my career, actually, being there for every ball of that series and every press conference and seeing how well England did. And it was just extraordinary. And it was extraordinary because it was so unusual. It is baffling why they can't make more of a fight of it. I mean, we've seen in Test cricket generally, haven't we, trends for the home side to be dominant. It's harder and harder for away sides to make an impact in Test cricket now. Possibly the lack of preparation, possibly the schedules, and they can't get acclimatised like they used to. But at the same time, England are always weak in Australia, well, they certainly have been in the last 3 tours. And it's very hard to get your head round that. I thought this might be a little bit different. That's why what happened in Perth on that spectacular afternoon was so disappointing and so frustrating. I felt deflated. I've been around forever. I felt deflated, and it's really nothing to do with me, But I just want a close series, like you said, and maybe we're still going to get one, but you really have to think the odds are against. And history tells you, we've all seen this movie before, haven't we? If England go 2-0 down now, it's got 5-0 written all over it, I'm afraid. There's no coming back from that. I know they came back pretty well from 2 down in England last time, but then again, that's England, and they've been competitive in England for since 2005. It's just in Australia they can't do it. Yes, conditions are different, but everything that England have planned for the last 2 years has been with this tour in mind. All this business about we're entertaining, not to worry about results, or we're going to play the game in front of us. Look at you, look at where your feet are now, as McCullum says. That's baloney, really. They've been planning for this series. That's why Zach Crawley's here. That's why they went for this all-out pace attack. And in that first innings, the pace attack were terrific, weren't they? I've never seen an England pace attack bowl so well and so aggressively, collectively. They got Archer and Wood on the pitch at the same time. They got the attack they wanted, which has been the problem that so many England attacks haven't had in Australia. They haven't got the bowlers on the field they've wanted. It was Australia who were missing Cummins and Hazelwood, yet they couldn't take advantage. And that's the biggest disappointment of all. And it's also the biggest disappointment for those of us who want a competitive series. It's not just, I want England to win and you want Australia to win or whatever. We want that competitive series, don't we? And it's really hanging by a thread now. And that's a great shame for the game and the Ashes as a spectacle, even though I don't know what you think, Crash, but the Ashes seem to be bigger than ever to me. There's so much interest here. There seems to be so much interest in Australia. The phony war seems to be as strong as ever. All the war of words. The West Australian have been coming up with some magnificent front pages, haven't they? I'm sure the Courier Mail will have some rippers up their sleeve for next week as well. But really, we need England to be competitive for the sake of this great old theatre that the Ashes is, and we just need them to, whatever way they're preparing for next week. I just hope they get it right. Really, if they're not going to get some match practice, let's hope the practice they do have at the Gabba and in Brisbane is suitable for the task ahead.
Caught me the other day, Newers. I was between editions when England were 1 for 105 in their second innings. And I was saying that how good their bowlers have been and what a revival. And then 4 hours later, the game was over. So people in the country think I'm a buffoon. But one last one, Ewers. I'm going to make you an Australian selector. You're choosing your team for the second test. Do you recall Usman Khawaja, or do you leave Travis Head where he is? And you've got, let's just say it's strictly between those two. What's your call?
I don't see how you can play Khawaja, to be honest, Crash. I think there would have been more scrutiny on this if England had gone on to win that game, as they should have done from that position you just talked about. Really coming up towards 39, he's not been able to take his position at the top of the order in either innings, and that's a problem, isn't it? That's an embarrassment, really, for him and for Australia, which has been masked by the brilliance of Travis Head. I think you've got to leave Head at the top of the order after that. I mean, it was one of the great innings, wasn't it? It was an innings for the ages, and it was magnificent. And I can't see why they would want to change that. He just answered every question. He was selfless in going to the top of the order. I mean, Steve Smith was talking afterwards that he almost asked Nathan Lyon to do it, didn't he? I don't know if that was tongue in cheek or whatever, but that shows almost a hint of desperation to keep that middle order in situ, doesn't it? The 3-4-5, if they'd have gone that way. So I think it was a problem. I think Khawaja's had a great career. He's coming up to 39. I know he got that big innings in Sri Lanka last year, but he seems to have been a little bit in decline. He seems to have been an issue for Australia going into the first test, to be honest. So I think they have to say, enough's enough. Thank you, Usman. You've had a great career for us. We're going to move on. Head stays at the top of the order, and Bo Webster comes into the middle order, is there a suggestion as well that Lyon might not play in Brisbane and that Webster would come in anyway, or an extra seamer would come in anyway? But whichever way they go on that regard, I think Head has to stay at the top of the order after that.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? He's a mystical player. I mean, the thing that's interesting about him is Greg Chappell says he's the prototype of the future player, and yet in spirit, he's like from the old days of the '70s. You know, Dougie Walters doesn't mind a bit of a dart and a beer. You know, probably carrying maybe a kilo or two. A little bit of a dusty mo, like he's a spirit wise, he's back to the 1970s. So he's this very unusual amalgam, but no one's really worked him out except Pakistan. Pakistani averages 22 against them, and they don't find him a threat. But everyone else, like India, call him the headache. They say this guy's just impossible to buy. Every time there's a big game, he gets us, he jumps us, you know. So he's one of the great, interesting stories in cricket, Newers, and what a joy it's been to have you on today. I'm don't be disappointed because we're going to get you back, and I hope you get the chance to celebrate an England victory because I can even tell in your voice, mate, you're chastened and still soaking it all up. But thanks for coming on, Paul, and we'll catch you next time.
Crash, it's been an absolute pleasure. We should know better at our age to get so wound up by it all, shouldn't we? But I was so upset on Saturday night, really, and I just so hope that we have a spectacle in Brisbane and we keep these Ashes alive. Thank you for your time, my friend.